Hello, my name is Kelly Knox. I am your host of Senior Care's program Living Wisely, Aging Well. We have a program that discusses topics of interest to people aged 60 and over, as well as adults living with disabilities. Today's guests are Kay Hapshe, Community Care Transition Supervisor at Senior Care, and Phil Thompson, Home Care Supervisor at Senior Care. So thank you both for joining us today.
Sure, glad to be here.
Thank you for having us.
I understand there are some exciting and new changes happening with the home care program.
Yes, one of the things that's happened involves our over-income program. Senior Care has always operated in the past that if you had a certain income that was a little bit higher than normal, you were considered an over-income respite client. We could still have you as a client, but you needed to have a daily caregiver in order to qualify for that program. And what we found over time that became pretty frustrating to us and case managers and nurses is that someone might need the care. We've identified that someone needs the care, but they didn't have a daily caregiver, so technically we could not provide them services because the program was set up to provide respite for a caregiver. Well, the recent development is Elder Affairs has changed all that. So now you don't need a daily caregiver, which is really a big deal in a lot of ways. It opens up possible opportunities to cover a lot more people, offer a lot more things. It's not a be-all and end-all program, but it certainly is going to encompass a lot more elders than who can consider us, get help from us.
Right. So with the over-income program, talk a little bit about what that means.
Well, it's kind of a, for lack of a better phrase, we've always had a kind of a two-tier financial sort of qualification. If you have a certain, whatever your income is, you have a copay. Unless you're on Medicaid or something like that, or your income is very low, you would not have a copay. And over income respite, the former program, you had to pay a certain percentage of whatever your services you received for that particular month. Well, over income respite is you still pay that percentage, but now you can get additional care and you can get case management, which was always the case, but now since there's no caregiver involved, you can get case management services, which are very valuable. If you were paying privately to hire your own case manager, they're very expensive.
About $125 an hour
at
minimum.
Wow.
So this is, we don't, a free service is the wrong phrase, but it's something that the consumer, our clients, do not have to pay.
So they just need to pay for whatever services
the
are being
percentage that
provided.
they receive, right.
Well, it's sort of like a bundle is the way I would describe it. So that you come to Senior Care, which is what I call state subsidized elder services, meaning that the state picks up part of the cost, the consumer picks up part of the cost based on what Phil was saying about the scale of pay. Then with that assignment of a rate, with that rate you get X number of hours depending on which program you're eligible for. You get a care manager and you get access to some of our ancillary services like caregiver support, Meals on Wheels, and the money management program. I could go on and on and on. I won't because that'll eat up all the rest of the time. But in short, everybody who comes through the door and accepts Senior Care services will have a care manager. And the nice thing about having a care manager assigned, it doesn't mean that they're going to come in and manage your daily life. They're not going to become, you're like, you're going to do it this way, and but they'll be there to aid and assist in your decision process. It gives you someone to call. For example, a lot of people don't need services, don't necessarily want help, but they might have a question of, how do I get my hair done in the home? And so we have a whole intake and referral department that answers questions like that. And that's also the role a care manager will play if you've accepted services, because you could then have someone to call and say, I need to get my hair done in the home now. I can't get rides, I can't do this, whatever the answer is. But they help you at transitions along the path. And then you would see them face to face, typically twice a year. It gives someone for your family to call if they have questions, providing you want your family to call. Because the number one thing is we're there for you, and you being the person receiving services. We're not there to tell you what to do. We're not there to speak on behalf of your family saying your daughter wants you to do this, so you're going to do it. It's not that. It's what do you want? and how do you want it? And we just are there to help with that process.
And that case manager will, as Kay said, will at least twice a year provide a full assessment, go out to the house, provide a full assessment. And if that person was getting personal care, if they needed help dressing or something like that, they would also get a nursing assessment at least once a year. So that's valuable in of itself. And what happens sometimes with case management, someone might open as a over-income client of ours, but down the road, because of the case managers involved and they get to know the client, and sometimes they learn there's been a financial change in that person's life, sometimes for the better when it relates to services. The case manager will discover that during an assessment that a loss of income occurred, and we didn't know about it until the case manager went out and the client disclosed that. That could put them in another program, which they could qualify for additional services should they need it. So it doesn't always mean they're locked into this program. It does depend on income. It is income driven to a large degree. But people's incomes change and the regulations change each year. In fact, this last year, Elder Affairs, you can make more money now and still get services. They keep raising incomes. Which is again opened up the doors for other people who might not have thought they'd ever qualify for senior care services.
Well, now anybody who qualifies, and let's talk a little bit about qualifications, but anybody who qualifies, even if they're over income, they can pay 100% of what we pay, right? So pretty much anybody who qualifies at the base level.
Right.
Exactly. They get a discounted rate.
They get a discounted rate through us.
And I think you raised two important things, like two words I'd like to focus on. What does eligible mean? And then what does over income mean? Because we toss that around, we know what it means. But in essence, someone out in the audience might say, well, over income, well, she's talking about someone with 6 figures. No, the state of Massachusetts, really, it's about 50,000 would be when you'd hit the category over income. And so I don't really like the term over income because that's not a lot of money. But it's the term that's out there. And then eligibility. What does eligibility mean? It basically means you either have to have a critical physical need, bathing, dressing, something like that, or an accumulation of needs, like need help with medication management, need help with shopping, need help with homemaking, need help with laundry. And so we put all of those together in a package. And for elder services, you have to be 60 or older. Unless you have Alzheimer's, then we can actually help you sooner. But and then for the disabled adults, we can help them into different programs. But it's a lot of people think senior care, well, I can't talk to you unless I'm a senior. And the reality is, if you are an adult 22 and older with a certified disability, or I talk to a lot of people who have had a stroke in midlife and their life has completely changed, and so like, how do I get this? How do I do that? Where do I? And so I'm not going to say we can bingo bango solve the problem, but we can help guide them on who to talk to, where to go next, and what they might be eligible for, what they might not. But I will agree that I'd say 80% of our business is seniors.
Right. And the beauty of it, I had a call recently from a friend of mine that. A friend of hers called, worried about a neighbor, a 96-year-old neighbor in their neighborhood, and the friend didn't know the elder service system at all, I guess she observed this 96-year-old having trouble getting out her front door, so she called her friend. Friend contacted me. What can we do? Well, that's the exact kind of call that people in the past might not have made to us because they just don't understand the system. They would have called the doctor, which is certainly fine, calling the doctor, a medical professional, if that's appropriate. But they could call us, call our information and referral department, and those folks would take some sort of assessment over the phone and be able to direct that person to one of us, options counseling that Kay supervises, or perhaps a home care referral to assess for home care needs.
Actually, can I hop in?
Yeah.
Let me just talk about options counseling. A lot of people might be like, well, what does that mean? And options counseling is really what I call it. One, it's a free service. Two, we'll come to you. You can come to us. I can talk to you on the phone. We can email you. But it's basically talking to someone about the landscape of services. Because I find trying to enter these systems and understand how they work and who you call, what's Medicare, what's Medicaid, what do you mean visiting nurse? Because we'll throw out an acronym at you, VNA. Oh, is the VNA signed up? What's a VNA? Right. That's the Visiting Nurse Association. Well, I have this group, and then we're like, yeah, that's a VNA, and then they're like, ah. So what I find options counseling can do is help learn that landscape. So that, for example, if you talk to someone who has a special needs child, after they've gone through the whole process of the medical interventions and then the social and then they're trying to get them into school and like work in that landscape, if you talk to someone who's done that after it's been done, they can like, oh, you're going to do this, call that one, do this, can't get that, but you can get this. And that's what we try to do through options counseling, is give you that leapfrog of information about elder and disability services so that you have a sense of how it works. Some people after this kind of engagement, and it's not just a one and done kind of thing. We for example, typical is we'll come and meet with you, your family if you'd like, friends, neighbors, whoever, your partner, it doesn't matter. And we'll talk about what's available. What is Medicare versus Medicaid? What are the qualifications, criteria? What's a frail elder law attorney? Why do I need one? And I could go on and on and on, which I won't. But in essence, it's about, okay, this is the problem. We talk about that. This is what you might be eligible for. These are the steps you might take. And then I'll check in with you as you go. Well, how did it go? Yeah, we like the attorney well enough. Because I don't tell you which attorney. That's not appropriate. But I will say you might use someone on this list, or if you have an attorney. You know, I never say do this. I'll say this is how it works, and then I'll check in with you. And so typically we'll talk for anywhere for like up to 30 or 45 days. Then pretty much the questions for that route have been answered, and so at the end of options counseling, I might make a referral to our intake and referral group, because yes, home care service is part of the answer. I might make a referral to the hospice group. That might be part of the answer. I might direct them back to their physician to request certain things. You know, it's just a question of it's someone to help you negotiate or navigate.
Right. Do you need to qualify for options counseling? Is there a qualification?
That's an excellent question. No, all you have to be is a disabled adult over the age of 22 or over the age of 60. I'll talk to that person, I'll talk to their caregiver, I'll talk to their loved one. At the end of the day, the key is whoever I talk to has to understand I'm not there to tell the person this is what you got to do. Mm-hmm. That's that person's decision.
As a title might suggest, you give them all options.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. And the other aspect of it too, sometimes people don't call us. They might think, well, I probably don't qualify for service. I need some help, but I'm not as old as the guy that lives next door to me. He really needs help, you know. But that might not be the case. If they call us, sometimes they don't need to be a home care client. They can receive home delivered meals if they qualify without being technically a home care client. They wouldn't have to commit to having someone come in their home and clean their house if that's something they didn't want to do, but yet they might qualify for Meals on Wheels. We have a number of people that fit that bill. So that's important for people to remember too. It isn't about, now I'm going to have to let somebody come in my house if I call them, and my house, I'm not comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we cover a whole landscape of discussions. For example, veteran services. I'm not an expert on veteran services, but I know enough to ask, are you a veteran? And if or was your spouse a veteran? And if the answer is yes, then I tell them to seek out, and here's another acronym for you, their VSO, which is a Veteran Service Officer. Every town has one assigned, and one of the fellows there, actually, his motto is, if in doubt, fill it out. So he feels very strongly that any veteran or their dependent should come see him or her, or their veterans, whoever, because there's women that are veteran service officers as well as men, but they'll help you negotiate the Veterans Administration landscape, find out what you're eligible for, and all of that. And some people whose spouse may have died quite some time ago, like, I can apply for veterans benefits? And the answer is yes, and I'm not going to tell them what, but I will, and so then that's the kind of thing that we'll send them. And the other thing that's important to mention too is care managers are also really options counselors when you think about it, because you might come in the door needing a little bit of help here or there. And then you've had a traumatic incident, a terminal diagnosis or something, and the care manager will help you through that change of status and say, well, you hadn't thought about Medicaid before, now you might want to, and talk with you. They're not going to take you by the hand and kind of fill out all the forms for you, but they're going to give you the guidance that you need to navigate that landscape. So we don't just like start it and then leave it there.
Well, we do operate by the model, they're in charge, the client is in charge, and we try to help them navigate the system, as Kay was saying. We even have, legal services that I think sometimes people forget. We're not lawyers, we're not, none of that. We simply refer out, but we have a lawyer that handles certain things for us. Again, it's all pro bono, that doesn't cost the client anything at all. They have to meet a certain criteria and all of that, but it's available to them. And there have been cases that since I've been at Senior Care it helps people immensely when it comes to tenant issues and losing benefits for some reason or other, which is invaluable for some people.
Yeah. So what are some other issues that people face in their homes and that we provide?
Well, I had this conversation the other day. If someone asked me, if you could just tell me, we don't have much time, can you just say in one sentence or less or something you would like to impart to elders to help prevent something from happening to improve the quality of their lives? And I would say that whatever can be done to limit someone's falling at home. Falls and fall prevention is something we're really focusing on now as an agency, as statewide. But it's astonishing when you realize what's happened to some people because of a fall, the progression that takes. There was some study done a couple of years ago. There were 400,000 falls in this country, and it's the leading cause of fatal and non-fatal injuries for people over 65. And a huge percentage of those falls take place in the bathroom or the kitchen. And so part of this program we've always assessed for falls, we've always done that as a rule, but the Elder Affairs is focusing on that now. So there's a new enhancement to the way we assess someone for falls. There's a questionnaire, there's questions we ask when we assess, and there's protocol that's being put in place that we can refer out to the appropriate professional to help modify that, the chance of them falling. For instance, a lot of times it's not rocket science, sometimes it's very simple. We'll have someone that's had a series of falls and we try to assess why. And we discover they've been falling in the bathroom. Well, we can refer to an occupational therapist to go out in the home and assess for bathroom safety. And it may be something as simple as putting up 2 grab bars that could have been either saved a person's life in some cases or prevented them from falling. So it's simple adjustments in many cases that can be made to modify and limit some of these falls. And the cost that's involved in the country of people that are admitted to hospitals and rehab and the back and forth of all of that is immense. So it could make a huge impact if we can make a huge impact.
And I think that actually a sidebar of what I do is I teach a course called A Matter of Balance. It's a fall prevention course. And we teach, I don't just teach it by myself, I have co-leader. We teach it at councils on aging, we teach it and housing authorities, and it's an 8-segment course. I'm not going to give you all the details, but basically the whole focus of the program is fall awareness and prevention. And so a lot of people when they hear the title think, oh, I'm going to come in and tell them what to do about their balance. That's a small little piece of fall prevention. A lot of the course is focused on talking about fall prevention, things that you can do, things that you can, like some people paint a little stripe on the edge of the stairs if they have a long flight of stairs so that they can see going down more easily in less lit places and things like that, and small things that make little changes. But we have an assessment process, but we also do some light exercises as part of 6 of the courses, 6 of the sessions. We spend half the time doing flexibility exercises. Like one of the things we talk about is the importance of ankle flexibility so that you can get the message from your foot about the terrain. And so someone with neuropathy isn't getting those messages if they have foot neuropathy, but it would be good for them to know, oh, I have to pay attention in this way.
Okay.
And say, for example, remedial courses aren't the answer, or say having an occupational therapist do a home safety assessment isn't the answer. Well, you can ask your doctor for a referral to something like, for example, Gordon College has a balance and wellness program, and it's physical therapy or occupational therapy that is doctor ordered, doctor supervised. They just did a presentation for us recently. It was and they focus on balance so much so that they even showed us a picture of someone that was a great fall risk, and they put him in a sort of harness
was amazing,
to help him build walking skills.
Oh, cool.
It was awesome because normally you wouldn't see, and this is all outpatient. So not everybody's that level, and not everybody wants to take a course, but there's all different ways and methods that you can get into that. And in fact, I'm teaching a course right now in Salem, and we had the second week last week. And so one of the questions was, oh, how was your week last week? And 3 of the women laughed, and I said, oh, and they said, we actually fell. They were talking to each other before they got in, and they said, thankfully no injuries, but one laughed even louder, and she goes, yeah, I was debating about whether to come back or not. Then I fell, and I said, I might learn something there. And so she said, you'll see me to the end. But those small things can be fun. You can learn something. And the Councils on Aging have terrific exercise programs that you can do for very low cost. If you know, and they do Tai Chi, and they do all sorts of things that help with balance. And I know you we're talking about a little.
It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have, people sometimes they hear the word exercise sometimes, and they just think, I've got to go to the gym and I've got to do all these things I don't want to do. But if you, in that regard, exercise can be done sitting in a chair doing very simple exercises. And some people scoff at that who are exercise freaks, sometimes. But I tell you, when it comes to limiting falls and keeping your strength up, it's a cliche that we hear over and over again, how we all have to exercise, and it's such a major, important part of your life, especially as you get older. I mean, it's incredible what keeping just simple strengthening exercises, just keep active at that, how that can affect your life. I mean, getting out of a chair. I mean, they do all sorts of analysis on strength levels. There's little meters you can gauge grip strength and all sorts of things. But you can observe someone sitting in a chair, and if they can't get out of that chair unless they plant their, arms and really push up, they're a fall risk. Right. That tells you right there they're a fall risk. So there's some strengthening arms, legs. Usually it's leg strength that they can't get up because of the poor leg strength. But a lot of these things can be remedied, and exercise is just, is as important as they say.
Right, and it's also important to know it's never too late, literally. Right. There's been studies that have proven that there's improved muscle building and bone strength as we age. It doesn't just stop because you turn 80 or something. So that if you're sitting in a chair saying, well, I can't do that, the answer is, there's small things that you can do that will give you strength and confidence to get to that next level. Yeah. And it's really an awesome thing to see someone learn and experience that. One of my clients who I used to have years ago, kept telling me, "Oh, I'm not going to that class. I can't do anything. I'm just stuck in this walker. It's got a seat, that's about it." And I said, "Oh, just come. What are you going to do for the afternoon anyway?" And so she came, and I can't say I had her running by the end of 8 weeks. No, that didn't happen. But what she did find was her mobility improved. Getting out of a seat got better. Walking a short distance became a little bit longer than 2 or 3 steps. And so she was enthused and got some confidence. Now, I'm sure a few years later she's still not running, but that little bit of enthusiasm helped.
But that could mean now you have the strength to get to the car so you can see your grandkids.
Right. It can make all the difference.
Which is just that one thing can make a huge difference.
Right. And that's one of the first questions we ask, Ashley. When a care manager comes out to do an assessment, they'll ask, what is one of your goals? And some people have said, I'd like to have the ability to go see a grandkid play soccer. Someone else would I'd like to be able to walk 100 feet.
Get in my mailbox.
Right. Mm-hmm. Someone else would be, I'd like to go to the store without having to call my daughter every time to take me. Mm-hmm. I'd like to do something without having to wait for someone to be available to help me. And so it's some of those things we can help with.
Yeah. That's very exciting stuff. And so if somebody has a question about anything that you guys said, or
The simple answer is call Senior Care
Call
at
Senior Care.
978-281-1750, and an information referral specialist can be connected with you. And then there you can tell them, well, this is what I'm looking for. And then they can tell you if it's the hairdresser who does hairdressing at home. It could be, I want to talk to someone about my options. I'm not sure. Can I stay in this house permanently? What would my options be? My sister's fallen and I really am having trouble trying to meet her needs. I'm worried about my father. Or it could be, I know I just need a little help. And so then they'll connect you with the right person, whether it's someone in Phil's team in the home care group, whether it's someone in my group under options, whether it's one of our volunteer managed programs. And if you're feeling, as you're watching this, that, hey, there's lots of stuff I can do. We even have a whole volunteer
That's
group
right.
that
We
you
haven't
can
even
call
talked
that
about
will
that.
place you
Right.
with various groups that need help.
Right.
And we have, I think, almost 400 volunteers in this community, in this Cape Ann area, that are out there doing all sorts of things for people. So we can,
What's the name of that program?
it's called RSVP.
RSVP program. So thank you very much, both of you. That was a lot of wonderful information. And is there anything that you didn't say that you think needs to be said before we wrap up?
Geez. Call Senior Care. We said it, but we can say it again.
Call Senior Care. That would be 978-281-1750. I do believe I got that number correct.
You did?
And thank you so much for watching this afternoon, and we hope you join us again.